Okay guys, welcome to another exioN cast here. Spawning in the bottom position is going to be Alt StarCraft Bales. His tag does say Impulse, but he's currently playing for Alt StarCraft. He is a Grandmaster Protoss player. Very good. And in the top right, we have exioN Nezi, who's also joining us for this replay cast. What's up, Nezi?
Hey.
So these games were for the SPGL, Semi-Pro Gaming League. This is the Nationals. I'm not sure exactly what round this was, but it was Game 3 in a best of 3. So there's a lot on the line here. And there's some very interesting things to talk about from both the Zerg and the Protoss side as we get into this. So
Yeah,
first,
this was in winners round 2,
okay.
I believe.
The most important thing to note is the map at the start here, because this is not a ladder map. It was for a while, but got taken out. Metropolis, there's a lot of interesting things about it. Mostly it's known for half map, sort of epic battles, because it's very, very hard to break through your opponent once they have set up. So, as a Zerg player, what are the things that stand out to you about Metropolis, and maybe things you might want to look out for?
That 5 bases is quite easy for both races. So, if I'm planning to go to like late game Hive Tech, 3 base Protoss pushes that they do, like 4 Colossus pushes or Immortal Archon pushes or something like that, they're not too hard to defend because there's 2 places where I have to spine up, right? The choke here, just to the left of my main, and then the choke where my 4th would be, right? So that's not too bad at all. Like Cloud Kingdom, if you want to take a 4th base and Protoss is doing like a 3 base push, you have to spine up like 4 different places or something. Yeah, on this map it's very, very easy to do. So that's quite nice.
Okay, so the first thing we see here from Bales is that he's going for a gateway expand, and in response, you've taken a gas. What is the reason behind that?
Yeah, let's just pause here quickly and talk about this, because this is quite rare. I actually wouldn't say it's rare, it's just uncommon. It's getting more and more popular. People opening like this gate nexus, sort of like they do in, like Parting does this in PvT, right? Sometimes? Yeah, sort of like that, but against Zerg, right? Like no gas, no core, and then the nexus. Against something like this, I like getting my gas up. Like against any form of like gateway first openings, I like getting your gas, because if they're opening gateway first, their core is going to be faster, their warp gate is going to be faster. So you want to be able to defend against any form of warp gate aggression. And on top of that, their +1 is going to be late. So Lings are going to be actually not good against Zealots, but not god-awful like they are if Zealots have +1.
Yeah.
So getting speed is like really good, because you can just use pretty much only Lings to defend like 4 gates or something like that. Unlike if he has like +1, like from a standard Forge expand, if he has +1 in 4 gates, it's like really hard to defend with only Lings.
Okay. Yeah, I think
so
the main thing to note is you're able to delay your Roach Warren quite a bit when you see they've gone for a gateway expand, because you know you're going to be able to hold any super early pressure with Pure Ling.
yeah, and also the speed helps you deny probes. I actually like this opening from Bales. It's quite good, especially on this map, right? Because it makes it very easy to wall off his choke here, which you'll see he does in a second.
Okay.
It's a pretty good opening.
So you ready to resume?
Yeah, ready.
Go.
Let's do a time here.
Okay. I'm at 2:57.
Okay. Should go back a couple seconds. One moment. Okay. You good?
Yep.
Do a countdown here.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
So there are 2 very sort of common forms of gateway expand, where you get a nexus before your gas and your core, and where you get the core and the gas before the nexus. And I'm definitely a fan of the gasless version. Actually, he takes double gas instead of just 1 before his cyber core, because he's gonna get that zealot. So just a very very unique way of playing Protoss. I mean, about 4 months ago, this was absolutely unheard of. The only way to play was Forge expand, or so people thought. But
Yeah.
recently, players like Naniwa have shown us that that's not actually true, which is kind of ironic, because he's the one who said Forge fast expand or die trying. So it's funny, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of doing things that aren't common, just because the timings the timings for this are like so different. It just throws you off so much. So, and if he does this often, he's gonna be so familiar with the timings. So, any point where you're familiar with something that your opponent's not, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, just going to go ahead and grab that quick third hatchery. Just gonna get a drone over there. I think one important thing to note about your third base here is there's a very strong pylon spot right on this ledge here, and it's definitely a place you want to have an overlord sitting, because from your third hatchery here, and even your natural and your main, you're going to have to walk all the way around this hallway just to try and get at that pylon and deny it. And if you're running your units all the way around and they're warping in on the low ground, you're not going to have stuff to defend your mineral line. So it's definitely a place of contention in ZVP.
Yeah. Yeah, I was picking away at his cybernetic core here, but the stalker comes out to prevent it. He skips his forge here. You'll see sometimes they'll get the forge after they plant their nexus. Bales opts not to. It's perfectly fine to do that.
I think that might be a bit of a map-specific thing on his part. Just
Yeah,
of
because
this
it's so
little
easy
note.
to wall off here. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so just droning up is Nezi. That third hatch is coming. So aside from the gas opening, it's turning into a pretty standard game.
Yeah, pretty much. I have an overlord here to check. It's actually quite hard to check third and fourth gas on this map. As you see, like, I have an overlord sitting here to check one of them, but it's quite hard to check both. Bales actually has a probe here hidden that I haven't picked up on yet.
Yes, he does. Up in your fifth.
Yeah. It's quite a common place to hide it. And Bale's here opting to get double forge. He delayed his first forge a lot, that he wants to like churn out those upgrades pretty fast. And he's adding some more gateways here. It's looking like a expansion build from here.
Yeah. So if you scout double forge as a Zerg player, what are you thinking?
Honestly, like it's never see this, especially like delaying the first forge and then getting the second one like this
Okay.
at the same time. That I don't have experience with it, but it means that he's taking a third, right? Because he's not going to be getting double upgrades just to hit like a timing.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make much sense.
I think the timings that are available off of double forge all come from 3 base.
Yeah, like
Common ones involve pretty zealot heavy stuff and with archons and immortals, rather than
Yeah.
like a colossus timing or something like that.
yeah, and Bill's here. He's probably gonna be warping in some more sentries here to utilize his hallucination. He's skipping the robo here, opting for the double forge in the twilight. So he needs some form of scouting, and the hallucinating phoenix is pretty good for that.
Yeah. I think if you, as a Zerg player, see hallucination coming, it's a pretty good indicator that they're not going to have a robo, or at least it's going to be very delayed robo. Because if you wanted to scout with observers, you could just make observers. You don't really have a reason to spend that extra gas on hallucination.
Yeah, exactly. Or the sentry energy as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like Bales is taking expansion. I've seen this, so I'm droning up like mad.
Yeah, 11
And-
drones just popping, and ventral sack starting. So you are going to be going for drops. Is there anything that prompted you to move into drop play?
This map is just pretty good for it, and I know he's expanding because I've seen this double forge, and I know his robo is late, so he's not going to have very many immortals,
Okay.
if at all, right? Like, if
Yeah.
he drops robo now, he'll have, like, 2. If he doesn't at all, then he'll have none, of course, but he won't. His immortal count will be not, like, 4 or 5, like you'll see from your typical, like, robo expand builds.
Also, the hallucination is going to point towards a very sentry-heavy opening. And sentries, while they are good for keeping things out of your base, once they're in, they become rather useless because of such the low damage, which is another thing that makes drop play very strong.
Yeah, and these positions are quite good for it too. So Bales is scouting around here with his Phoenix. He did go in my main, I believe. Yeah, he went in my main and saw that there was no 6th gas, which is a little bit of a tell that I'm going to be aggressive. Usually if you're going to get like a quick infestation pit to go for like that 12-minute hive or something, you would get all of those gases in quick. And he sees that I don't have a 4th here, which is another big tell of aggression. Because he has expanded at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
he's-
if you're going to go for infestors or mutas, you're definitely going to need all those gases mining for as long as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And he's trying to wall off here at the bottom of this ramp, which is it's a pretty think it's a tight wall off. Yeah, it's a tight wall off here.
Yeah,
A couple cannons behind. And I'm coming in here with some roaches to pick off the core. He doesn't have too many stalkers, so this is going to be kind of hard for him to defend. I'm just poking around here. I don't want to take shots on the cannons. And here's some warp prisms coming out because he wants to delay me, but I don't take the bait.
Yeah, he's trying to turn you around with these, but since he's already shown the hallucinated phoenix, it's a bit obvious what he's trying to do. But at the same time, I mean, he's in pretty big trouble here. So
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate for him, actually. His warp prism was, like, so close to the Overlord and actually didn't see it, which would help him out so much. Like, all of his sentries and stalkers right now at this point would be in his main, but guess what? They're not, and I'm coming in.
Yeah, I think another nice thing you've done is you've sent all your overlords preemptively down here, so that as soon as the upgrade's finish, you can load the roaches in and just go straight for that drop. I think that's an important point of doing drop play.
Yeah, it's important that you get your overlords, like, underneath the base when drops finish. So right now I'm dropping roaches onto his sentries here. I kept some roaches inside the overlords. That's a good thing to do because it sort of throws them off to, like, how many roaches you actually have there.
You have less than you do.
And also having roaches in the overlords makes it easier to drop onto the sentries. So I'm cleaning up here. He's going to defend here, it looks like, at his main, but at the same time at his third, 2 cans are already down. I'm working on this gateway wall here. And more reinforcements are streaming across the map.
Yeah, and this is the strength of this really heavy roach aggression with drops. You can just split the Protoss up and tear him apart. I mean, he can't be everywhere at once, and if he is, he's going to be stretched so thin that the units just aren't strong enough to take roaches in a straight-up fight.
Yeah, and roaches are attacking his third now. More lings and roaches streaming down. Burrow starting now. He doesn't have a robo, actually, so there's not going to be any detection. And most of his gateways are empowered. He's actually only on, like, 2 gateways. 3 gateways.
Yeah, a very common thing for Protoss players to do is to put the majority of their gateways in the main. So if you're going for a drop play, there's a very good chance you could unpower most or all of their gateways. And from that point, your reinforcements are just going to be way too much to handle.
Yeah. And at this point, there's not really much Bales can do. He does some, as you can see, some hold position probe micro to prevent my roaches from getting in there, but with only 4 stalkers, it's really not enough.
Yeah, it's a good effort by him. He's trying to stay alive as best he can, but there's just way too many roaches streaming in here. It was that initial attack that really broke him. I mean, unpowering all of his gateways and killing most of his sentries, that's not really something you can recover from.
Yeah. Honestly, this was not, I wouldn't say it'd be a win, but like a build order advantage. Like, it's quite hard for Bales to hold off what I did by what he did with like no immortals or anything like that, because the mortals are really good against drops. Because even if the roaches are directly on top of the mortals still good, do good damage. Yeah. But a couple mistakes by him cost him the game, really. Not seeing the drops, and if he had his stalkers and sentries in his main, it would have been at least a little bit easier for him to hold off since he had blink so early.
Yeah, the most important thing as a Protoss player to hold off these drops is to see them coming and have your units in position.
Yeah.
If you get completely blindsided and there's like, 30 roaches in your main and everything's in your natural, they'll be able to just sit on top of this ramp and make a funnel, and there'll be way more roaches attacking your units than there will be your units attacking the roaches, and you're going to be cost inefficient. And
yeah, exactly.
The whole point of the Protoss race is to make yourself as cost efficient as possible, and use these strong power units to force, favorable engagements. But the drop really takes that away from you if you don't see it coming.
Yeah, and there's some mind games going on with, or not mind games, but like a sort of thing that you don't see in most games where Zerg goes drops. There's a huge portion of his like attention is for the Protoss trying to see where the overlords are coming, and the Zerg trying to prevent it. Prevent the Protoss from seeing it's coming. Like, you'll see when Symbol does this in GSL, actually, I've noticed that he has an Overseer patrolling in his main to catch the OBS. Because if the Protoss doesn't make a second OBS, you won't know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, he's gone for hallucination instead of OBS to scout, so I didn't do that. But it's quite good to make sure, as Protoss, to have an OBS where you might be dropped, and a Zerg to make sure they don't have an OBS where you might be dropping, right? So
Absolutely.